Kicked out at 17. With just $12 and a trash bag. Now my family wants to live. I'm Valeria, 27 years old. 10 years ago, my parents threw me out with just a trash bag of belongings and $12 in my pocket. I still remember the rain soaking through my clothes as the door slammed behind me. Now, after years of silence and lies, they want to move into my $750,000 home. The same people who abandoned me suddenly need my help. Ironic how life works, right? If you're watching this, let me know where you're tuning in from, and hit subscribe to join me on this journey of resilience and transformation. Growing up in a middle-class suburban neighborhood in Michigan shaped my early understanding of family dynamics. Our two-story colonial house with its perfectly maintained lawn projected an image of stability that masked the reality within our walls. My father, James, worked as a bank manager and ruled our home with strict authority. His expectations weren't just high, they were often unrealistic and inflexible. Every decision from our extracurricular activities to our career aspirations required his approval. My mother, Diana, worked part-time as a receptionist at a dental office. She rarely contradicted my father, adopting a policy of silent acquiescence that she called keeping the peace. When he criticized us or imposed harsh punishments, she would disappear into another room or suddenly find household chores that needed immediate attention. Her physical presence never translated into emotional support. My older brother Kyle enjoyed golden child status from the beginning. 3 years my senior, he excelled at sports and brought home the trophies and medals that my father proudly displayed in our living room. Kyle's achievements in baseball and later business courses at school reinforced the family values my father cherished: competition, conventional success, and conformity. My younger sister Megan, 2 years behind me, became the overlooked middle child. Quiet and compliant, she learned early to blend into the background, avoiding both the spotlight of expectations that Kyle basked in and the scrutiny I endured. Megan developed a talent for becoming invisible during family conflicts, a skill I sometimes envied. As for me, I occupied the uncomfortable position of family scapegoat. My creative inclinations and independent thinking became targets for criticism rather than sources of pride. When I won an art contest in 4th grade, my father remarked that drawing pretty pictures wouldn't pay the bills. My mother displayed my artwork on the refrigerator briefly, but removed it before my father could comment further. Our family struggled financially more than our neighbors knew. My father's position at the bank provided stability but not affluence, though maintaining appearances consumed much of our resources. Designer clothes for family photos, expensive holiday decorations for the annual neighborhood competition, and costly renovations to keep up with trends stretched our budget thin. The pressure of these financial strains often translated into tension at home, with my father's mood darkening whenever bills arrived. My earliest memories include a fascination with colors and patterns. While other children played with action figures or dolls, I rearranged furniture in my dollhouse, creating different layouts and color schemes. I covered my school notebooks with intricate designs and transformed my bedroom walls with elaborate murals that changed seasonally. Each time, my father would shake his head and mutter about wasted potential. Art became my sanctuary and passion. I filled sketchbooks with designs for spaces that felt warm and welcoming, everything our house, despite its material comforts, lacked. My art teacher in elementary school, Ms. Rodriguez, recognized my talent and encouraged me to develop my skills. She spoke of careers in design and architecture that combined creativity with practicality. But when I shared these possibilities at home, my father dismissed them as hobbies, not careers. As I entered my teenage years, the gap between my interests and my parents' expectations widened into a chasm. My father had mapped out my future: a business degree, a stable corporate job, marriage to someone from a good family, and grandchildren who would continue the cycle. Any deviation from this script triggered lectures about responsibility and reality. My mother occasionally whispered that I should just go along with my father's plans until college, where I could explore options. But her pattern of retreat during conflicts made these private encouragements feel hollow. She never defended my choices when it mattered. Our house, with its formal living room that no one used and dining room reserved for holidays, symbolized the emotional landscape of our family spaces existed for show rather than comfort. My bedroom became the only place that truly reflected me, though even there I had to fight for each small change or personal touch. By 16, the tension had become a constant undercurrent in our home. Kyle had graduated and started college following the approved path in business administration. Megan had adopted a strategy of perfect compliance, and I had become increasingly determined to forge my own way, setting the stage for the conflicts that would ultimately leave me homeless, with just $12 and a trash bag of belongings. High school intensified the pressure cooker atmosphere at home. My father expected straight A's despite having little interest in my actual education beyond the report card. If Kyle could maintain a perfect GPA while playing varsity sports, you have no excuse, became his refrain. The fact that I maintained a solid B-plus average while developing my portfolio for art school applications earned no recognition. During junior year, I began researching art and design programs secretly. The local library became my sanctuary as I pored over college brochures and scholarship information after school. Ms. Rodriguez, now my high school art teacher, helped me photograph my best work and organize my portfolio. "Your spatial awareness and color theory intuition are exceptional, Valeria," she told me during one lunch period critique. "The right program will recognize that talent." I applied to 6 schools without my parents' knowledge, using Ms. Rodriguez's classroom as my mailing address. The applications required essays, portfolio submissions, and recommendation letters, all of which I coordinated between classes and late at night after my parents went to bed. Each submission felt like a small act of revolution, a declaration of independence wrapped in manila envelopes. It was during this period that I met Thomas in my advanced art class. Tall, with thoughtful eyes and a quiet confidence, he transferred from Chicago midway through the fall semester. Unlike most people at school, Thomas took art seriously as a career path. His parents, both working in creative fields, had encouraged his interest in photography and digital design since childhood. "You shouldn't have to hide your talent," he said after watching me quickly tuck away sketches when my father unexpectedly picked me up from school one day. That comment led to hours of conversation about family expectations and personal dreams. Thomas became my first boyfriend and strongest advocate, encouraging me to stand my ground about pursuing art school. My parents disapproved of Thomas immediately. "He has that artsy look," my father commented after meeting him briefly. "Those types never amount to much." My mother worried about his influence, especially after I began spending more time at his house, where his parents' home studio and art-filled walls offered a glimpse of the life I wanted. My small acts of rebellion increased gradually. I stayed out 15 minutes past curfew, then 30, then an hour, testing boundaries and enduring the resulting punishments of grounded weekends and confiscated art supplies. I changed my appearance incrementally, first earrings beyond the approved single pair, then experimenting with more expressive clothing styles that departed from the preppy uniform my mother purchased. The dyed hair incident marked a significant escalation. Using birthday money from my grandmother, I added purple highlights to my naturally dark brown hair. The same weekend, Thomas's older sister, a tattoo apprentice, gave me a small crescent moon tattoo on my inner wrist, a symbol of change and personal growth that could be easily hidden under a watch or bracelet. My father's reaction exceeded even my expectations. "No daughter of mine will look like a delinquent," he shouted, ordering me to dye my hair back immediately. When he discovered the tattoo 2 days later, he implemented what he called appropriate consequences. A complete technology ban restricted movement between school and home only, and weekly family discussions about my poor choices and attitude problems. My mother withdrew further during this period, busying herself with household tasks whenever conflicts arose. Once, when I appealed to her privately, she sighed and said, "Your father wants what's best for you. This phase isn't helping your future." Her refusal to acknowledge my autonomy felt like a betrayal equal to my father's anger. Kyle, home from college for a weekend, joined the criticism chorus. "You're being selfish and ungrateful," he informed me over breakfast. "Dad works hard to give us opportunities, and you're throwing it back in his face with this artsy rebellion." His words carried the weight of the golden child's judgment, reinforcing the family dynamic that had always marginalized my aspirations. The situation reached a crucial turning point when an acceptance letter arrived from the Rhode Island School of Design, complete with a substantial scholarship offer that would make attendance financially possible. The letter arrived while I was at school, and when I came home, there was no mention of it. For 3 days, I waited for someone to acknowledge it, growing increasingly suspicious. While searching for a missing textbook in my father's home office, I discovered the hidden letter along with similar correspondence from 2 other art schools. All had been opened, read, and deliberately concealed. The scholarship information had been underlined in my father's distinctive red pen with question marks and exclamation points in the margins. That evening, I confronted my parents at dinner. "Why did you hide my acceptance letters?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. The momentary flicker of guilt on my mother's face confirmed what I already knew. My father recovered quickly. "We were protecting you from a mistake," he said. "Those art school degrees are worthless in the real world. We've already discussed your attendance at state for business like Kyle." "You discussed it," I corrected him. "I never agreed to it." What followed was an argument that would set the stage for the final confrontation, one that would end with me standing in the rain homeless at 17, clutching a trash bag of hastily gathered possessions and counting $12 in my wallet. April 15th. The date is burned into my memory, tax day for most Americans, but for me, the day everything changed. Rain had been falling steadily since morning, drumming against the windows, as if warning of the storm brewing inside our house. I had received an email from RISD confirming my scholarship and requesting a response by May 1st. The deadline made my decision urgent. After dinner, I approached my parents in the living room where they were watching the news. My father muted the television, his expression already darkening at my serious tone. "I need to discuss college," I began, my hands trembling slightly, though I kept them clasped behind my back. "I've been accepted to Rhode Island School of Design with a scholarship that covers most of the tuition. I need to confirm by May 1st. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before my father erupted. "This discussion is over," he said, his voice dangerously quiet at first. "We've already decided you're attending state. The application is submitted. The deposit is paid." "You decided?" I replied, summoning courage I didn't know I possessed. "And you submitted applications in my name without my knowledge or consent. That's not just controlling, it might actually be illegal." My father's face flushed dark red. He stood up, towering over me as he had throughout my childhood when delivering lectures or punishments. "How dare you accuse me of illegality for trying to secure your future? Your ingratitude is astounding." My mother remained seated, her eyes fixed on her hands folded in her lap. Her silence screamed louder than my father's escalating voice. "I'm going to RISD," I stated, surprised by the clarity and conviction in my voice. "I've earned this opportunity through my own work you've consistently dismissed and devalued. The scholarship makes it financially possible without your help." "Without our help?" My father laughed, a harsh sound without humor. "You think you can manage without us? You have no idea what the real world costs. Rent, food, insurance, transportation, books, supplies. You'll come crawling back within a month when your fantasy crashes against reality." I stood my ground. "I've been researching. I've saved from my part-time job. The scholarship includes housing. I can make this work." "James." My mother finally spoke, her voice barely audible. "Perhaps we should discuss this more calmly tomorrow." My father whirled toward her. "There's nothing to discuss. She either accepts our guidance about her future, or she's on her own." The ultimatum hung in the air between us. From the hallway, I heard Kyle's voice as he entered the conversation uninvited. He had come home for the weekend and apparently been listening from the kitchen. "You need to stop this rebellion, Val," he said, using the nickname I'd always hated. "You're tearing the family apart with your selfishness." "Art school." "Really? Do you know how few artists actually make a living? Dad's trying to prevent you from wasting your life." His words felt like a physical blow, not because they were unexpected, but because they confirmed what I'd always sensed: my dreams didn't matter in this family. My happiness was secondary to conformity. "This isn't rebellion," I said quietly. "This is me choosing my own path. I'm not asking for your approval anymore, just your respect for my decision." "Respect?" My father's voice rose to a shout. "Respect is earned through wise choices and hard work toward meaningful goals, not chasing fantasies that will leave you waiting tables for the rest of your life." I've worked harder on my portfolio than I've ever worked on anything, I countered, feeling tears threatening but refusing to let them fall. My art teachers believe in my potential. The admissions committee at one of the top design schools in the country believes in me. Why can't my own family? Because we know better, he roared. We've lived in the real world. We know what success requires, and it isn't doodling and playing with colors. The argument spiraled further, each exchange more heated than the last. My father's words became increasingly cutting. He called my art childish scribblings, and my ambitions delusional. When I mentioned Thomas's parents as examples of successful creative professionals, he dismissed them as lucky exceptions, and Thomas as a bad influence pushing you toward failure. The breaking point came when I said, I would rather struggle financially doing work I love than be miserable in a career I hate just to please you. My father's expression changed from anger to cold fury. Then you can start your independent life right now. If you're so determined to reject everything we've planned for you, you can leave this house tonight. I thought he was bluffing another threat to force compliance. You don't mean that. I absolutely do, he replied, his voice frighteningly calm now. You're either a member of this family following the guidance of the people who have supported you for 17 years, or you're on your own. Your choice. I looked to my mother, waiting for her intervention. She had always been passive, but surely she wouldn't allow this. Instead, she stared at the carpet, her silence a form of complicity that hurt more than my father's explicit rejection. Mom, my voice cracked on the single syllable. Listen to your father, Valeria, she whispered, still not meeting my eyes. Kyle stood with his arms crossed, judgment written across his features. You're bringing this on yourself, he added unnecessarily. In that moment, I realized a fundamental truth. Conditional love isn't love at all. It's control wrapped in familial obligation. Then I choose independence, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Get your things and get out, my father replied, turning away as if I had already disappeared. You have 30 minutes. The next half hour passed in a blur of disbelief and adrenaline. I grabbed my backpack and emptied it of school books, filling it instead with essentials: underwear, socks, 2 t-shirts, a sweater, my toothbrush. I added my sketchbooks, portfolio, and the acceptance letters I'd recovered from my father's office. The remaining space I filled with photographs and a few small mementos. For larger items, I had nothing but a black trash bag from under the kitchen sink. Into it went more clothes, my winter jacket, a small blanket, and the art supplies I couldn't bear to leave behind. Throughout this rushed packing, no one came to my room. No one said, "Wait, let's talk about this." The house remained silent except for the sound of the television turned back on downstairs. Before leaving, I checked my wallet, $12.37. My modest savings were in a bank account that my father had helped set up an account I suddenly realized I might not be able to access. Rain continued to fall as I stood on the porch, the trash bag in one hand, backpack on my shoulders, staring at the closed door that had just slammed behind me. The weight of my situation descended all at once. I was 17, technically still a minor for another 3 months, with nowhere to go and almost no money. I took one last look at the house, the porch light my mother had switched on, illuminating the path I'd walked thousands of times. I felt a complex mixture of emotions: terror at my uncertain future, grief at the family bonds severed so easily, but also a strange sense of liberation. For the first time, I would live according to my own values, not someone else's expectations. The rain soaked through my clothes as I walked away, each step taking me further from the only home I'd known and toward a future I could barely imagine. That night marked both an ending and a beginning, though I couldn't have known then how that traumatic expulsion would eventually lead to strength, success, and a life more fulfilling than anything my father had planned for me. The rain intensified as I made my way through our neighborhood trash bag clutched against my chest to protect the contents from getting soaked. My first instinct was to go to Thomas's house. His parents had always been kind to me, appreciating my interest in art, and treating me with the respect my own family rarely showed. With nowhere else to turn, I walked the 15 blocks to their home, my shoes squelching with each step. When I arrived, Thomas answered the door, his expression shifting from surprise to concern as he took in my drenched appearance and luggage. "Val, What happened? Through chattering teeth, I explained the situation. Thomas immediately invited me inside and called for his parents. His mother brought me a towel and dry clothes while his father made hot tea. Their immediate kindness nearly broke me. The contrast between their response and my own family's rejection was overwhelming. After hearing my story, Thomas's parents exchanged worried glances. "We want to help," his mother said gently, "but there are legal considerations. You're still a minor, and allowing you to stay here without your parents' knowledge could be considered harboring a runaway." Thomas argued on my behalf, but his parents remained firm. They offered to call my parents to mediate or drive me to a youth shelter, but they couldn't offer long-term housing. Legal complications aside, they were preparing to move to Michigan for his father's new job within the month. The timing couldn't have been worse. With limited options, I spent that first night in a 24-hour diner near my school. The sympathetic overnight waitress Judy let me occupy a corner booth from 11 p.m. until dawn, nursing a single cup of coffee that cost most of my remaining money. "Been there, honey?" she said, slipping me extra cream packets with protein to help sustain me. Sometimes family ain't what it should be. The next morning, exhausted and disoriented, I went to school. I couldn't focus on classes but needed somewhere warm and familiar to figure out my next steps. During lunch period, I sought out Ms. Rodriguez and broke down in her classroom, explaining through tears what had happened. Ms. Rodriguez listened without interruption, her expression growing increasingly concerned. When I finished, she took my hands in hers. "This shouldn't happen to anyone, especially not a talented young person with so much potential. Let me make some calls." That afternoon, Ms. Rodriguez offered a solution that would change everything. She had a finished basement apartment in her home where I could stay temporarily while we sorted out more permanent arrangements. "It's not charity," she insisted when I hesitated. "Consider it an investment in a future artist whose work I'll proudly say I recognized early." The shame of explaining my situation to others weighed heavily. When classmates asked why I suddenly had all my possessions in my locker, I manufactured vague explanations about home renovations. The truth felt too raw, too humiliating to share widely. How do you tell people your own parents discarded you over your career choice? Living with Ms. Rodriguez allowed me to complete my senior year, but financial reality quickly set in. My father had indeed frozen my access to my savings account, claiming it was for my own good, when the bank manager called to confirm. The meager funds I had accumulated from birthday gifts and part-time work remained under his control. I found jobs immediately, morning shifts at a convenience store before school weekend, waitressing at a local diner, and evening dog walking for neighbors. Every dollar went into a new account Ms. Rodriguez helped me open at a different bank. Between work shifts, I maintained my grades and finalized my RISD enrollment, determined to prove my father wrong about my commitment and work ethic. The emotional toll manifested in unexpected ways. I developed insomnia, lying awake rehearsing arguments with my parents that would never happen. Panic attacks ambushed me in quiet moments, sudden overwhelming fear that I would fail and have nowhere to turn. The smell of my father's distinctive cologne on a passing stranger once sent me into a bathroom stall for 20 minutes, struggling to breathe normally. I attempted to contact Megan several times, missing my sister despite our different places in the family hierarchy. My calls and messages went unanswered. Later, I learned my parents had confiscated her phone after my departure and monitored her communications to prevent my negative influence. As graduation approached, a small part of me hoped my parents might reach out, that seeing my name in the ceremony program would trigger some reconciliation attempt. They did not attend. Ms. Rodriguez cheered loudly enough for multiple family members when I crossed the stage, but their absence created a hollow feeling that achievement alone couldn't fill. Starting art school meant relocating to Rhode Island, leaving behind Ms. Rodriguez's generous support. My scholarship covered tuition and basic dormitory housing, but little else. I found a tiny apartment with 3 roommates, all of us crowded into a space designed for 2 people at most. My section consisted of a mattress on the floor separated from common areas by hanging sheets. Privacy became a luxury I couldn't afford. College expenses mounted quickly beyond tuition. Art supplies cost hundreds of dollars each semester. The required laptop for digital design stretched my budget to breaking point. Textbooks meant additional hours waiting tables at a campus cafe. While other students ordered takeout and went to movies, I calculated whether I could afford both laundry and groceries in the same week. During this period, I learned self-sufficiency through necessity. YouTube tutorials taught me to cut my own hair. Library books showed me how to mend clothes and prepare inexpensive meals. I became an expert at finding free entertainment and stretching resources beyond what seemed possible. Each small victory, making rent-completing projects with limited supplies, earning top marks despite exhaustion, reinforced my determination. The kindness of strangers and new friends sustained me through the hardest times. My roommate Zoe shared her family care packages without making me feel like a charity case. A professor quietly provided leftover supplies from department projects. The cafe manager arranged my schedule around important classes and occasionally forgot to charge me for meals during shifts. These acts of generosity taught me an important lesson. Accepting help doesn't diminish independence, it creates community. Each person who supported me did so, not because they pitied me, but because they valued what I could contribute given the opportunity to succeed. Their belief in my potential when my own family had dismissed it became the foundation upon which I would build my future. Graduation day at RISD arrived with a mixture of triumph and anxiety. I had completed my degree with honors, developing a portfolio that my professors called exceptionally marketable and distinctively innovative. Yet as classmates celebrated with proud families, I stood alone. My achievements witnessed only by friends who couldn't fully understand the journey that had brought me there. Job hunting began immediately. I couldn't afford a gap between graduation and employment, so I applied for positions while completing final projects. After dozens of applications and interviews, I secured an entry-level position at Morgan Design Associates, a small but respected firm specializing in commercial interiors. The salary was modest, but it offered stability I hadn't known since leaving home. My first assignments involved basic drafting and material research foundational work that rarely showcased creativity. I approached each task with determination, staying late to ensure flawless execution and volunteering for additional responsibilities. This dedication caught the attention of Sarah Levinson, the firm's creative director, and my eventual mentor. Sarah had built her reputation on transformative spaces that balanced functionality with unexpected artistic elements. During a late evening when we were both working overtime, she paused at my desk to examine concept sketches I was developing independently. "These aren't for our current projects," she observed, flipping through my personal sketchbook. "No," I admitted nervously. "Just ideas I'm exploring in my free time. Different approaches to the Westfield lobby renovation." Sarah studied the drawing silently before asking, "Why haven't you shared these in our concept meetings?" "I'm still new," I explained. "I didn't want to overstep." "Talent isn't overstepping," she replied. "It's why we hired you. Bring these perspectives to tomorrow's meeting. This one especially." She tapped a sketch featuring a dramatic lighting installation, "Has potential." That conversation marked a turning point. Sarah began including me in client meetings, providing guidance while encouraging my distinctive approach to spatial design. Under her mentorship, my confidence grew alongside my technical skills. She pushed me to develop my own design philosophy, one that emphasized emotional resonance and transformative experiences within functional spaces. My breakthrough came unexpectedly through a connection Sarah facilitated. A music producer touring potential office spaces was unimpressed with conventional design proposals. Sarah suggested I develop an alternative concept, knowing my fresh perspective might resonate with his creative sensibilities. The resulting design, featuring acoustic elements that doubled as visual art lighting that shifted with daylight patterns and workspaces that facilitated both collaboration and privacy, impressed the client immediately. "This is the first space that feels like it understands what we create here," he commented during the presentation. Not only did the music producer commission the project, but he also recommended my work to several industry connections. My name began circulating among entertainment professionals seeking distinctive workspace designs. Each successful project led to referrals, establishing a reputation for environments that reflected client identities while enhancing productivity and well-being. At 23, with Sarah's encouragement and a growing portfolio of high-profile projects, I made the intimidating decision to launch my own design studio. The early months of entrepreneurship tested every skill and resource I had developed since being kicked out. Apartment living room consultations gradually gave way to a small rented office space. Cold calls and networking events slowly built a client base beyond entertainment industry referrals. I approached business ownership with the same financial discipline that had allowed me to survive on $12. Every contract included careful budgeting with contingency plans. Unlike competitors who expanded quickly with large staffs, I maintained a lean operation with trusted freelancers, preserving flexibility while controlling overhead costs. While building my business, I made strategic investments based on research and cautious forecasting. Small stock purchases grew modestly but consistently. When a client offered partial payment in shares of his startup technology company as it went public, I accepted the calculated risk. That decision later yielded returns that would become the down payment on my first property. At 24, I purchased a small one-bedroom condo in an up-and-coming neighborhood, a modest space, but entirely mine. The moment I received the keys remains vivid in my memory, standing alone in empty rooms that no one could take from me, that no one could expel me from. I sat on the floor and wept, not from sadness, but from a profound sense of security I hadn't experienced since childhood. Designing my own space became therapeutic. Each color choice, each carefully selected piece of furniture represented not just aesthetic decisions, but healing. The soothing blue walls in the bedroom helped calm lingering anxiety. The open kitchen with its expansive counters contradicted my father's dismissal of my impractical interests by functioning beautifully while looking stunning. Every corner reflected intentionality and personal growth. As my business expanded, so did my circle of close friends. These relationships formed a chosen family bound by mutual respect rather than obligation. We celebrated holidays and achievements together, creating traditions that honored our diverse backgrounds and shared values. These connections helped heal the wounds of familial rejection, proving that meaningful bonds could exist without conditions or control. Therapy became another essential component of my healing journey. Initially reluctant to revisit painful memories, I eventually found a counselor specializing in family estrangement. Our sessions helped me process the anger, grief, and lingering self-doubt from my parents' rejection. Gradually, I recognized that their inability to support my dreams reflected their limitations, not my worth. Professional recognition accumulated through industry awards and magazine features. A bathroom renovation incorporating salvaged stained glass won sustainable design honors. A startup's headquarters balancing technology integration with biophilic elements earned innovation accolades. Each publication mentioning my unique vision and distinctive approach felt like vindication of the path I had chosen despite such opposition. By 26, my business had grown sufficiently to justify moving to a larger office and hiring permanent staff. The same month, I found the property that would become my home, a $750,000 craftsman-style house with character, history, and potential that captivated me immediately. The mortgage approval based entirely on my own credit history, income, and assets represented a milestone that once seemed impossible. Renovating this house became both a professional showcase and personal statement. I preserved original architectural details while modernizing systems and spaces. The home office incorporated elements from my first studio apartment, honoring the journey. The expansive kitchen facilitated entertaining the friends who had become family. Each room balanced beauty with purpose, embodying the design philosophy that had built my career. Standing in this completed space, this sanctuary created entirely through my own efforts, I finally understood something profound. Being thrown out with $12 and a trash bag had not destroyed me. Instead, that trauma had forced me to discover strengths, talents, and determination I might never have recognized otherwise. The family that discarded me had unwittingly set me free to become fully myself. The Facebook message arrived on an ordinary Tuesday evening as I reviewed client proposals in my home office. The notification showed a name I hadn't seen in nearly a decade, Megan Johnson, my sister. My finger hovered over the screen, heart suddenly racing as I debated whether to open it or delete it unread. Curiosity won. The message was brief but jolting. Val, I know it's been a long time and you probably hate us all. I wouldn't blame you. But things have gotten really bad here, and I don't know who else to turn to. Could we talk? Please. I stared at those words, emotions colliding like storm fronts. Anger that contact came only with need. Vindication that their perfect plan for life had apparently collapsed. Curiosity about what really bad entailed. Concern for Megan, who had been barely 15 when I left. Suspicion about her motives after years of silence. After 3 days of consideration and a consultation with my therapist, I responded with my phone number and a neutral message. I'm willing to listen. Megan called that evening, her voice both familiar and strange. After awkward greetings, she launched into an update that revealed the family's dramatic reversal of fortune. Dad's business failed 2 years ago, she explained. He left the bank to start his own financial consulting firm, but it went under during the recession. Most of their retirement savings went into trying to save it. My father's financial failure felt ironically appropriate given his dismissal of my career choice as impractical. I remained silent, letting Megan continue. Mom was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. The treatments are expensive and their insurance doesn't cover everything. They had to take a second mortgage on the house, but now they can't make the payments. A twinge of sympathy for my mother surfaced, despite years of resentment over her passive enabling of my father's controlling behavior. Cancer was a formidable opponent I wouldn't wish on anyone. Kyle was supposed to help, but he's got his own problems, Megan continued. He lost his job after gambling at work and borrowing money from his company account. There are legal issues pending. The golden child's fall complemented the family's unraveling narrative. Kyle, who had joined my father in condemning my choices, had apparently failed to live up to his own prescribed path of responsibility. The house is being foreclosed next month, Megan finished. We have nowhere to go. The request, when it finally came, was as direct as it was audacious. I know it's asking a lot, but I've seen your design work online and the articles about your success. Is there any way you could help us, even temporarily? I asked careful questions about their expectations. The answers revealed that help meant financial assistance for my mother's medical bills and housing, specifically moving into my home until they got back on their feet. Megan presented this solution as good for everyone, since I had all that space and they could be a family again. The conversation lasted 90 minutes, during which several revelations emerged that intensified my emotional turmoil. First, my parents had created a fiction about my departure, telling extended family and friends that I had run away with Thomas against their wishes. This lie preserved their image as concerned parents while painting me as rebellious and irresponsible. Second, they had monitored my career from afar through social media and industry publications. My father had apparently commented that my success was just good luck, rather than the result of talent and perseverance. My mother had kept a file of my published work, but never reached out to congratulate me. Third, while Megan expressed genuine regret about our lost relationship, she admitted that reconnecting now was motivated primarily by their financial crisis. I should have contacted you years ago, she acknowledged, but it was easier to go along with Mom and Dad's version of events. After ending the call with a non-committal promise to think about it, I sat in my garden trying to process this unexpected collision between past and present. The family that had discarded me with $12 and a trash bag now viewed my home as their safety net. The irony wasn't lost on me. Over the following week, additional calls from Megan revealed increasingly manipulative tactics. She mentioned our mother crying over old family photos, wondering where she had gone wrong with me. She relayed messages from our father, who was apparently too proud to call directly, but was willing to reconcile for the family's sake. Kyle had reportedly said he would forgive my abandonment of the family if I helped now. Each conversation triggered complex emotions that years of therapy had helped me identify but not entirely resolve. Guilt surfaced despite my rational understanding that I owed them nothing. Anger flared at their assumption of entitlement to my resources. Sadness lingered over the relationship we might have had if they had supported rather than constrained me. My therapist provided crucial perspective during an emergency session. They're asking for housing and financial support without acknowledging the harm they caused, she observed. Have they offered genuine apologies? Have they shown understanding of how their actions affected you? Or are they simply facing consequences and looking for rescue? These questions clarified my thinking. The family seeking my help now was the same family that had made conditional love their operating principle. Their current need didn't erase their past actions or magically create healthy relationship dynamics. Compassion doesn't require sacrificing your boundaries, my therapist reminded me. You can offer help without inviting chaos into your carefully constructed life. After careful consideration, I made a decision that honored both my capacity for compassion and my need for self-protection. I would meet my family face to face for the first time in 10 years, not to offer my home, but to establish clear terms for any potential assistance and relationship moving forward. I chose a restaurant 20 minutes from my home for our meeting neutral territory that wouldn't expose my private sanctuary to potential manipulation. Arriving early, I selected a corner table offering some privacy while remaining in public view. The familiar anxiety tightened my chest as I waited, breathing deeply to maintain composure. They arrived together, my father noticeably aged hair now completely gray. My mother thinner than I remembered, a colorful scarf wrapped around her head, suggesting ongoing treatments. Kyle with the slightly puffy features of someone using alcohol to manage stress. And Megan, whose nervous expression shifted between hope and apprehension. The initial moments passed in awkward greetings and settling into seats. My father's handshake was formal, my mother's brief hug tentative. Kyle nodded curtly, while Megan attempted a warm smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You look well," my mother offered, breaking the silence. "Success agrees with you," my father added with an undertone I couldn't quite interpret. Pride, resentment, both. After ordering drinks, we navigated superficial conversation about the restaurant and weather before addressing the elephant in the room. My father predictably took control. "Megan has explained our situation," he began, his voice lacking its former authority. "It's not how I envisioned things turning out, obviously, but family should help family in times of need." The word family, from his lips, struck me as particularly ironic. "Family," I repeated slowly. "Is that how you define what happened 10 years ago? Family helping family?" My father's expression tightened. "We all make mistakes in difficult moments. I may have been harsh, but I was trying to protect you from what I saw as a poor decision." This half-hearted acknowledgement fell far short of the apology I deserved. "Harsh," I echoed. "You threw your 17-year-old daughter out with nowhere to go and $12 to her name. You cut off access to my savings account. You told extended family I ran away." My mother interjected, tears forming. "We were desperate, Valeria. We thought you'd come back after a few days and we could talk sensibly about your future." "You expected me to fail and come crawling back," I corrected her. "When I didn't, you created a narrative that absolved you of responsibility instead of reaching out to make amends." Kyle shifted uncomfortably before speaking. "Look, what's done is done. We can't change the past. We're in a bad situation now and you're in a position to help. Isn't that what matters?" His dismissal of the past infuriated me, but I maintained my composure. "The past always matters, Kyle. It shapes the present, including the trust or lack thereof between us now." Megan, perhaps sensing the conversation veering toward confrontation, adopted a conciliatory tone. "We know we hurt you, Val. I should have stayed in touch at least. But Mom really is sick and the foreclosure is happening. We're not making that up." "I never suggested you were," I replied. "I believe your situation is exactly as you've described it. What I'm questioning is why you believe moving into my home is the appropriate solution." My father's frustration showed as he leaned forward. "Because that's what families do. They take care of each other. Your mother needs stability during her treatments. We need time to reorganize financially. Your house has plenty of space according to the magazine features. It makes perfect sense." "Except for one crucial factor," I said calmly. "You haven't acknowledged the real damage you caused or taken responsibility for your actions. You're approaching this as if you're entitled to my help despite our history." My mother's tears flowed freely now. "I'm sorry we weren't more supportive of your dreams," she offered. But we were doing what we thought was best. And look at you now, successful, accomplished. Maybe things worked out for the best. Her implication that their rejection had somehow contributed positively to my success revealed how little she understood. I succeeded despite what you did not because of it, I clarified. Do you have any idea what those first years were like? Living in a basement, working 3 jobs while completing high school, wondering if I'd have enough money for basic necessities. My questions were met with uncomfortable silence. None of them had considered the reality of my experience after being expelled from their lives. Here's what I'm willing to do, I finally said, having reached the decision during my preparation for this meeting. I'll help with Mom's medical expenses. I'll speak directly with the hospital about covering certain costs. I'll also connect Dad with some business contacts who might offer consulting opportunities if his expertise is valuable. Their expressions showed cautious relief until I continued. But I won't offer housing. My home is my sanctuary, a place I created after years of working to overcome the trauma of being discarded by the people who should have protected me most. Inviting you into that space would compromise my mental health and the peace I've worked hard to establish. My father's face darkened. So you'll throw money at the problem but keep us at arm's length. That's cold, Valeria. No, I corrected him. That's a boundary. Something I had to learn to establish after growing up in a home where my boundaries were consistently violated. I laid out additional conditions: family therapy if they wanted to rebuild our relationship, complete honesty with extended family about what really happened years ago, and genuine accountability rather than justifications disguised as apologies. This isn't negotiable, I concluded. I'm willing to help because I have compassion for your situation, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my well-being in the process. Reactions varied predictably. My father bristled at conditions being placed on his acceptance of help. The control dynamic reversed from our last interaction. My mother continued crying but nodded slightly, perhaps recognizing the reasonableness of my position. Kyle appeared resentful, muttering about my high and mighty attitude. Only Megan showed genuine understanding. That seems fair, she said quietly, meeting my eyes directly for the first time. More than fair considering everything. As we prepared to leave, my father made one last attempt to assert control. We'll think about your offer, he said stiffly, as if he were the one with options to consider. Take whatever time you need, I replied, signing the check for our meal. My conditions won't change. Walking away from that restaurant, I felt a weight lifting, not because reconciliation had occurred, but because I had maintained my boundaries while still offering compassion. The scared 17-year-old with $12 and a trash bag had become a woman capable of extending help without sacrificing herself in the process. In the months that followed, my family accepted my financial assistance for my mother's treatments, but struggled with the therapy requirement. Sessions revealed patterns of dysfunction extending far beyond their treatment of me. My father's controlling behavior toward everyone, my mother's enabling codependency, Kyle's resentment and competitiveness, Megan's people-pleasing adaptations. Progress came slowly and unevenly. Some conversations ended in defensive anger, others in tearful acknowledgments. My father still struggled to take full responsibility for his actions, often retreating to justifications about different times and a parent's prerogative. My mother gradually revealed her own regrets more honestly, admitting she had failed me through her silence and inaction. The relationship we slowly rebuilt wasn't the fantasy reconciliation of holiday movies. It was cautious, limited, and constantly negotiated. I maintained firm boundaries about my home and personal life while offering appropriate support. They gradually learned to respect these boundaries, though not without occasional testing and pushback. Through this process, I discovered something unexpected. The abandonment that had wounded me so deeply had also forged me into someone stronger than I might otherwise have become. Being thrown out with $12 and a trash bag had forced me to develop resilience, self-reliance, and determination that now defined my character and career. My beautiful home remained my sanctuary, a testament to the journey from that rainy night to financial and emotional independence. The carefully designed spaces reflected not just aesthetic choices, but spiritual and psychological healing. Each room represented security that couldn't be withdrawn based on someone else's approval or disapproval. Most importantly, I learned that family isn't defined by biology alone. My chosen family of friends, mentors, and colleagues provided connection without conditions. These relationships, built on mutual respect rather than obligation, created the support network I truly needed. The experience taught me that forgiveness doesn't require forgetting or erasing boundaries. It simply means releasing the expectation that the past could have been different, acknowledging reality exactly as it was, and making conscious choices about moving forward. I now understand that we all define family on our own terms. Sometimes that includes biological relatives, sometimes it doesn't. The critical factor isn't shared DNA, but shared values, respect, authenticity, and love that doesn't come with conditions attached. What does family mean to you? Is it defined by biology, shared history, or something deeper? Have you ever had to create boundaries with family members to protect your well-being? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe for more reflections on resilience and rebuilding. Thank you for joining me on this journey from abandonment to empowerment. Remember that your worth isn't determined by others' ability to recognize it, and sometimes the most painful endings create space for the most beautiful beginnings.